track and field team. A lot of people have bought the harness gloves, but have had a lot of problems with learning how to use the technique or the technique that we developed at the University of Illinois. The major problem that people have had is that they've taken the technique that they used with their old gloves, which were tape and pad, and they've tried to utilize it with this new glove, and they've had a lot of problems with blisters and injuries. So I'd like to run you through a short program on how to use these gloves and how to maintain them. I'd like to introduce Ann Walters, a senior at the University of Illinois, and one of the top women racers in the world. Ann is a T3 racer, and we're going to have Ann show you the glove and how she uses it to push her chair. The first thing we like to present is on Ann's glove. You'll notice underneath she's wearing a liner. This is a nylon glove that is available from Eagle Sports chairs as well as harness designs. And it fits skin tight onto the hand and underneath the glove. Some people like them, some people don't. I've had a lot of success in our program with them in avoiding blisters. And also it's very good at wicking the sweat away from the skin and allowing for a snug fit on the glove. It's just like wearing a sock. The other thing that we've used is in Ann's glove, it's a little piece of plastic tubing. This plastic tubing will fit right in the hand, and then when you Velcro the hand down, it will alleviate a lot of the cramping that's been associated with these gloves. All too often people have gone from pushing with the hand open to pushing with the hand closed, and they've ended up with a lot of cramping across the back of the hand as well as the base of the thumb. We found that using this tubing allows you to avoid that cramping. This tubing is available at hardware stores. Just go into the plumbing section and just get, you can use a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch, and just cut off a piece about 2 or 3 inches long, and hacksaw will do it. We'll cut this up and put it right in your glove. And it's real cheap. We pay about 38 cents a foot for it. The other, as I mentioned earlier, one of the problems people are having with these gloves is they're taking these gloves and trying to use their old stroke where there was much more of an impact with the ring. What we're trying to do now is emphasize friction with the ring. And you have all this padding and rubber that goes right across the base of the fingers, and you have padding at the base of the thumb. Most of our racers don't use their thumb to push anymore. All of the stress is going right across the fingers, or if you can look at right on my fingers, it's running right down between the index finger and middle finger. So Ann is coming in, and instead of just pounding the ring like the old stroke would use, what we're actually doing is coming in a little earlier, around 12 o'clock. This is the clock face. Coming in at 12 o'clock, squeezing in, and finding the line right down between the fingers, and coming around, turning, and driving all the way around the bottom. All of her contact is staying with the outside half of the ring. She's not getting too much on top. That's one of the biggest problems that we see with a lot of racers, is they come in and they're getting in on top of the ring. And what happens is you get here, and all of a sudden there's nowhere to go, and you have a short, choppy stroke. With this, you stay on the outside, and as you get around the bottom, you're actually curling in a little bit. And you're pushing off at the bottom, off of the cuticles, or the just above the fingernail on the bottom of the ring. Another thing that is the most common mistake I see is the way people hold their hand in contact with the ring. The first thing you have to learn, you have your hand in a neutral position in your wrist. And the only movement you want out of your wrist, you want your wrist extended and back, And the only movement you have is ulnar deviation. You go this way or this way. Just back and forth like this. It's not like the old stroke where there was a twisting action at the bottom. That led to a lot of tendonitis and tennis elbow problems. With this stroke, all you're doing is ulnar deviating. Going back and forth like this, and there's a little bit of extension. Your wrist is back like this. So as Ann comes in, you can see her hand is back. She's coming in. She's squeezing in against the outside of the ring. And as she comes around, she's extending straight back. Before, you would come in from an angle like this, you would punch it, and then shoot your arm off and twist to the outside. We're trying to avoid that. You want to try to keep your arms as close to the ring and come straight back, which allows you for more efficient aerodynamics. So we'll take Ann through the basics of the stroke. The first phase is her initial contact. She's right up top at about 12 o'clock. She's driving around. She's in the drive phase, and then the release. And all the release is ulnar deviation. It's straight back. It's just she's taking her thumb and her fingers and going straight back off the bottom of the ring. Right back. And at high speeds, she'll bottom out across the bottom and push straight back. Okay? Just run through it real slowly. Again, she's trying to maximize friction with the hand ring. She's not just trying to pound it and break the push ring. She's actually just trying to mesh the rubber with the back of her hand with the rubber that's on the push ring. And again, it's real important that you run a push ring going that has a rubber backing, whether it's a tire or latex tubing covering the push ring. Because you have to have that interface between the rubber on the back of the ring, the back of the hand, with the push ring. And as Ann comes in, she makes a contact at 12 o'clock, and she is actually squeezing in. She's coming in and squeezing in against the outside of the ring and driving around. Once she has made a solid contact with the ring at 12 o'clock, and she starts to come around, she's now ripping the hand against the outside of the ring and driving it around. It's almost like you're trying to tear the rubber that's on the back of the ring against the back of the hand against the push ring. She's coming around and she's squeezing. Again, just stop just a second. If you sit right up. Ann's anatomical midline, right down the middle of her body. She's coming in and she's squeezing in towards that midline and trying to just rip her hand around the outside of the push ring. And she's squeezing in on every stroke. So again, you can put both hands in. As she bends forward, she's squeezing in towards her knees and driving around the bottom. Ann doesn't have a lot of abdominal muscles, so she can't sit up and pound in. And so she needs to lay down on her knees and drive around the outside. And you can watch, as she drives around, she's coming straight back, and she's in position to immediately come in and make contact with the ring on the next stroke. And this is a very efficient pushing stroke, and Ann just doesn't have a whole lot of muscle mass. So she has to be as efficient as possible on the ring. The other area that we try to emphasize is I see a lot of people get on the rollers and just train and just push, 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 and the stroke starts to break down and they can't maximize their contact with the ring. So what we do is we do drills on the rollers where after a 10-minute warm-up, Ann will do a drill where she'll maybe take 10 hard strokes, then pause, put her hands up on the steering, and rest and go 1001, 1002, 1003, and then take another sequence of strokes. this is the best way to maximize the quality of strokes with a push ring. We'll demonstrate this right now. Let's go with a six strokes on, 3 count off. Okay, so just a pause, and she can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, bring your hands up. 1001, 1002, 1003. That's good. 1001, 1002, 1003. Great, okay. Now this works exceptionally well on an eagle roller. It has a large drum that will allow you to get the roller moving and maintain a high speed. It's going to be a little more difficult on the small drum rollers where as soon as you stop pushing it slows down. But I'd highly recommend that you have a big drum roller that will allow you to build up some speed and maintain it. And we spend almost our whole winter just working on the technique of free spinning and high speed and working on the quality of contact between the glove and the push ring. We work on our fitness, but the major emphasis is always technique and being as smooth as possible. So this first drill is working on the quality of the contact. Now that Ann is, her contact is real good with the push ring, now we want to work on how long can she maintain that contact. So now we might move to something like 20 seconds on, 3 to 4 seconds recovery, 20 seconds on, 3 to 4 seconds recovery. So let's try it right now. Ann will go with, okay, you got your cat eye going. Okay. And it's just 20 strokes hard, or 20 seconds hard. Okay, take a 3 to 5 second count. Okay, good. Again, the major emphasis that we feel with roller training is to emphasize the quality of the contact with the push ring. We're not real concerned with fitness on the rollers until about 6 to 8 weeks into training. We want to emphasize a good contact and a good drive around the ring and an efficient stroke. All too often, again, people get on here, they don't work on the stroke contact or the hand contact with the ring. Instead, they just work on a technique that actually goes bad on them after 30 seconds to 40 seconds of continuing pushing, and all they're doing is reinforcing bad pushing mechanics. So we'll do drills like this where Ann might be on the rollers for half an hour, but she'll never push at any one time more than 20 seconds at a time, because maybe after 20 seconds her stroke starts to break down. We'll slowly increase that, but only over time, 3 to 6 weeks. Okay, what I'd like to run through now is the whole technique. First of all, you see Ann, that her elbows are out, and she's squeezing in. She's coming in about 12:30. She's squeezing in between the index finger and the middle finger, and she's pushing in towards the midline and driving around the bottom. Okay, the 3 phases is the contact, the squeezing and driving, and the release at the bottom. The top is a squeeze, then it's a drive, and then she's pushing off the bottom, off the ends of her fingers, and the thumb is going straight back. And that allows her in the recovery phase to be ready to get right back on the ring. Some of the imagery that we use with our athletes is that what you have in your hand There's two paddles, and you're trying to squeeze those paddles against the outside of the push ring. So each time Ann comes around, she's squeezing, driving, and pushing right through the bottom, releasing, and bringing her hands up in a position that allows her to be ready to get right back onto the push ring. There's no wasted movement of letting the hand fly out and away from the push ring, which again will allow for wind resistance and drag. The arms staying close and the hand is staying close to the wheel at all times. As you can see, Anna's making sure that every time she comes onto the ring, she's prepared to make contact. She's not landing on her knees at an awkward angle. She's coming in flat and landing right on her knees. She's always sure that she's stable in the chair and that she's going to make contact, equal contact, with both sides. Okay, let you rest a little bit, Ann. All right, now from a side view, we'd like to run through the basics of the stroke once more. As you can see, Ann is coming in at about 12 o'clock to 12:30, squeezing in against the outside of the push ring, driving around, and releasing at the bottom. Slow it down just a little bit, Ann. Want to show how the thumb just glides around the outside of the ring. Her contact is being made down through the center between her index finger and the middle finger and off the base or the heel of the thumb. The thumb is just gliding around the outside and is acting as a support for the index finger and middle finger. As you watch, the thumb comes straight back and allows Ann to be in position for her next stroke. Okay, let's slow it down even more. And we'll go through a real slow contact with the ring. Squeeze in, and drive, and release. Squeeze in, drive, and release. The one area that has to be strengthened with this stroke is the muscles of the upper back. We spend a lot of time strengthening the rotator cuff and the middle trapezius muscles to allow Ann to pull her arms up real quick and get back on the ring. And we published articles in Sports and Spokes that explain the lifts that you need to do to strengthen these muscles, as well as an article on roller training that will allow you to construct or design a training program that will meet your particular needs, whether you're a track racer or a road racer. Okay, now we'll have Ann speed it up and go into a power stroke using 6 to 8 hard strokes and then a pause. As you can see, once again, we're emphasizing quality and not quantity of strokes. We're trying to maximize that contact with the ring and driving it around the bottom. You'll notice Ann is always making sure she's stable in the chair before she goes in to a hard sequence of strokes. Because if you're not square in your chair, you could end up with injuries or being twisted to one side and more emphasis being placed on one hand or one arm. Okay, good. Let's let the wheel slow down a little bit here. I'd like to go over some of the common mistakes that are made with this glove that individuals have again, made the transition from their own homemade gloves, their art of the design of their gloves, to the harness glove. The first problem that we see all too often is people using too much of the thumb. They're coming in with the thumb and they're driving around, but what happens is when you use this type of stroke, there is no protection for the index finger with this glove, because the rubber doesn't cover all the way around on the index finger. So they're ending up with a lot of soft tissue injuries on the side of their index finger. The other problem we're seeing is instead of getting on the side of the push ring, they're making the contact on the top of the push ring, which causes a very short stroke, where they're actually coming off at 4 o'clock because the thumb can't get over the top of the ring, and it makes them snap off on the side. Again, it's a short, choppy stroke. What we're emphasizing is pushing on the side of the rim and just swinging around the outside. A lot of our push rings, after they've got 500 or 600 miles, are actually becoming square on the outside because we're just scraping the rubber off the outside of the push ring. Other problems we see is people are coming straight down with their stroke and not trying to follow through at all. It's a jerky stroke. We're coming straight down, using the front of the ring, but there's no follow through at all. This is a great stroke for the 100 meters, but it's probably not going to help you when you get up to about 60 or 80 meters in 100 meters, because the people who have an efficient, powerful stroke will pass you with a follow-through right around the bottom of the ring. The other area I'd like to mention is some of the problems we've had with the glove where there's been failures or premature wearing out. The first area is the seams have been letting go and tearing right across here or down through here. And what we found is that if you take these to a cobbler or a shoe repair shop, they can just sew this right back in for you and save it, and reattach it and save the gloves so you can get more miles out of them. The other area we've had is the nylon at the base of the fingers here is pitting out and tearing. Again, if you just, we've been just putting tape over it, or get some more nylon and just sew it back in. Another problem we've had is that when the hand is closed and pulled tight, and at the end of the stroke, and at the start of the stroke, this part of the rubber is very sharp, and it's actually tearing in to the wrist. And what we've gone to is using a wristband, a tennis wristband, and placing it right here, and that will protect you from tearing, getting soft tissue injuries and cuts. So that will be one just extra precautionary item you might want to wear. It's just having a wristband right here that will protect the skin. Some of the newer designs in harness gloves actually have extended the cuff so you don't get those cuts. But I'd highly recommend getting some wristbands just to protect this area so you don't end up with cuts. We've had people getting anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 miles out of a pair of gloves if they're taken care of and kept clean. After you use, if you race in the rain and you have to use Clister, I've used finish line degreaser to clean off the Clister, but if you let it build up, you'll start getting little balls of rubber and dirt, and it gets pretty messy, and sooner or later you start to lose your contact. One of the other problems we found is sometimes this rubber actually gets a sheen to it, and it gets slippery. We just take a coarse sandpaper or a file and just rub it up, and that will make it rough it up and make the good contact. Another thing you want to watch is when you get a new push ring and you put new tires on your push ring, they're very slick. What we try to do is, for the first couple days, is just take a file and rough up the outside of the push ring so you can maximize contact. If you don't rough this up, you're just going to slip and you're going to get frustrated. So if you get the gloves and you get new push rings, you have to rough up both pairs to maximize the contact. But it does take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours of pushing to really be able to utilize both the push ring and the gloves to its full potential. Quickly, I'd like to run through some training protocols. And again, this is all outlined in an article that was in last year's Sports and Spokes. We're constantly testing on the rollers to check for training or fitness changes. The first thing we do is a max attempt, as Ann would just sprint as hard as she can for an all-out max. Very important that you have a roller that is secured to the floor, or in this case you have a 50-pound weight holding it down so the roller doesn't move around on you. Again, we're looking at what Ann's max speed is. Once we find that max speed, we'll design her training program around 1% of that max speed. The other tests we do is we'll do a 30-second all-out test to measure sprinting ability and a 1-minute test to measure endurance, so anaerobic endurance of sprinting all out. Okay, what we have outlined today in this very primitive video is the basics of the harness glove and the technique that we use at the University of Illinois to maximize performance and maximize the potential of this glove. We've gone over the liner that we wear inside the glove, the tubing that is used inside the hand to prevent cramping, and the basics of the glove and the pushing technique that we use. We hope that this beginning video will help you learn how to use your harness gloves and to maximize the potential. This video, we'd appreciate it if it stays in the hands of the individuals we send it to, and it is not meant for sale from any individuals other than the University of Illinois. If you have further questions about the training programs at the University of Illinois, please contact Marty Morse at the Rehabilitation Education Center at the University of Illinois.
Thanks, Ann.